Hello, and you're very welcome to Cork County Matters here on Irish TV. I'm Pierce McCarthy. Well, on this week's show, we're going to continue our summer series of visits to the islands off the west coast of Cork. If you remember, a couple of weeks back, we visited Cape Clear Island and we got to see a little bit of what island living was like there. We're going to see if the similarities are the differences this week as we're visiting two islands. We're going to visit Whiddy, and first, though, we're here on Bere Island.
On the 17th of last February, just at the break of day, well, I arose, pulled on my clothes, to the sea I made my way. When I came upon a seaside cliff, I espied an awful scene, for dashing on the rocks below was a large brigantine.
So, Michael, that song that you've just sang there, it's originally a poem that was taught to the school kids here on Bere Island.
That's right, yeah. It goes back to the 1870s or something, you know. And it's one that my father tortures with for many years, with just the last line every time we weren't near Filing the Dyke, the cliffside on the south side of the island. And really, after he died, that came back to me. And down on a visit here a couple of years back, Sonny Murphy, who was home from America, sent me over the words. And these lads I've been playing music with for many years, I brought the poem to them one night of one of our regular sessions, and within 24 hours we had the fact that it matches perfectly the Spancil Hill melody, which didn't cheer me up terribly well, but that's how it came about, and it's great to give it a bit of life now. But every school kid that are in national school for the last 100 years knows that poem, and it's special. You know, it's special to bring it back because clearly there's a great maritime history in Bere Island, and it's great to give it a bit of a life beyond a poem that was beaten into school children. You know, so.
We're here in the village on Bere Island. What's kind of unique about this really is for 17 years after Ireland was handed back to the Irish government, this part of the island was still in British control?
Yes, when the rest of Ireland became independent in 1921, the British kept three ports in Ireland, and Berehaven Harbour was one of them. So from 1921 until 1938 then, part of Bere Island was under British control, whereas the rest of Bere Island, not under military control, would have been under the Irish government.
And this would have been one of the most fortified harbours prior to the First World War? Even before that there was another period?
Yes, yeah. The initial involvement here would have been around 1800, when after the French invasion of Bantry Bay in 1796, the British realised that England could be vulnerable from attack through Ireland, and even though the invasion was a disaster from the attacking point of view, they realised the vulnerability of the place, and they decided to build the Martello Towers. So there was 4 Martello Towers built here at the time, and right along the coast as well. So that was around 1800, and now that they weren't used an awful lot, but they were a deterrent between, say, 1800 and 1900. And then around 1900 then, the British fleet had changed over to steamships, and they decided that Berehaven Harbour would be a very suitable place for the servicing of the steamships. But it was vitally important that they protect the 2 entrances to the harbour, and most of the fortifications were controlling the 2 entrances, one at the eastern end, one at the western end, so that when the ships were without power because they were being serviced, they would still be protected by the fortifications at the entrances to the harbour.
I was told last night that at one time prior to the First World War there were so many steamships here, and they were all racked up together that you could literally have walked from Bere Island across to Castletown Bere.
Yes, there would have been a huge number of steamships here, yeah, and prior to the First World War they would have assembled here, and the battalions like the Munster Fusiliers would have trained here and would have set out from here to the fronts and so on. And the British Navy would have set out from here to the Battle of Jutland during the First World War.
Ger, how are you, Ger? And your grandson, Michael. We have a couple of generations of Islanders here. So tell me a little bit about your life in Bere Island.
Well, I was in deep water ships and fishing when I was young, 14 years of age. Started fishing out of here, lobstering and scalloping and herring fishing in the harbour. And we go lobstering then in the winter time, in the summer time. And it was a kind of a constant thing all the year round. We'd make it so much of a living out of it, and that's how we lived.
That changed though, didn't it? Because I believe you've lived in America, you've actually lived
Well, we had
lots
to go
of
that
places.
time. Prices fell to the rock bottom, and there were no money for fish that time. There was plenty of fish there. You could go to town. I went to Dunmore East one time, fishing with a brother of mine, big boat. And you come in with 100 cran, and I'd only get a pound a box for them. And then by the time the price of oil and everything was taken out of it, you'd be lucky if we wound up with £20 a week.
So in your time, Ger, how have you seen island life change? I mean, you grew up here as a young lad.
Oh my God, it's gone back altogether. It's very sad, because the families got smaller. And in my time there was about 20 children in a small area, in 3 or 4 houses, and they were going to school together. They're all gone now. And the houses are closed down, a lot of the houses are closed down. There's a lot of summer houses there. It's holiday homes, but that's no good to the island. It's no good to the young lads coming up, the few that's there left. Because they only come on holidays and gone again, and it's like a morgue when they're gone.
Yeah, I mean, what's it like? I mean, it's summertime now, so you have a lot of people coming in here. What's it like here in the wintertime? I mean, is there a
terrible.
huge difference between summer and winter living in the
Oh,
island?
there's a huge difference, because we get bad weather, and well, we're very lucky. There's a good ferry boat western, and there's a great man running it. Only for that, you wouldn't get out in small boats. And that was the way it was in my time. Well, we were all happy, they all worked away together. But when immigration started, they all vamoosed to all corners of the world. There were 16 of my family mine there. And some of them went to Australia, there are 2 lads dead there. More went to South America, the States, England. Wound up with myself was the only fella here.
You're the only one of your family that's left here, is it?
Left here, yeah.
Okay, I'm here with Sean and doing an interview in probably one of the strangest places that I've done one. We're kind of in a cave here. This is absolutely beautiful. We could be in the tropics, but we're not.
It could be on a day like today anyway.
So, listen, what I've noticed in being in this boat with you is how comfortable you are in the water. You could literally turn this thing on a twopence. Clearly, your whole life has been around the sea.
Oh yeah, it is. I grew up in boats and around them, and so I was living on an island back and forth to town every day on them. And
Your dad is actually the man that runs the ferry service here, isn't he?
yeah, that's right, yeah. It's running the ferry from Castletown to Bere Island.
But you yourself, I mean, I suppose a lot of island employment in the past has always been fishing, it's been farming, it's something that we're kind of harping on a bit about. But you've kind of extended yourself out from that, haven't you? And you've got on to kind of have a very successful business, be it on the sea still though.
Oh yeah, still on the sea, yeah. I suppose I've always been on the sea and working on the ferry with my father, and then started up the sea safari business, doing trips around Bere Island in the summertime. And then I do a bit of salvage work as well, and tugs and towing and that type of thing. So everything is on the sea and around the sea.
So you're a young man, you're quite happily living in the island. What's island life like for a young guy like you?
It's, I suppose, it's what you expect. I've been on the island all my life, so that's what I've always been. So I haven't actually lived anywhere, so I don't know what it would be, how to compare it.
So what's island life like then? What is your life like?
It's good. Yeah, I wouldn't change it for anything.
Is it a simpler, more calm life?
I don't know, is it really? Because you'd be still coming and going all the time, and you'd be on the island. You'd nearly be off the island more than you'd be on it a lot of the time. And away on the boats and different countries and everything.
Yeah. And this place is just absolutely fantastic. And tell me, the sea safari, how's that going for you?
Oh, it's good. It's starting to pick up again now. The summertime it would be good, but the wintertime obviously there's nothing in it. But the summertime when the weather is good, there's a fierce demand for it.
So John, we've been here now since last night, and I suppose the feeling that I'm actually getting about this place and what I'm liking about Bere Island is that you're willing to try anything to make it work on the island. If somebody comes up with a zany idea, let's make a festival out of it and let's make a weekend out of it.
That's it, yeah, like that's kind of where you have to be in an island. You have to make the most of opportunities when they come along. So just for a few examples, like last year we started a Music into Silence Festival, which is a mixture of music concerts, music workshops and meditation. So some people thought it'll never work, but it actually last year was very successful. And we had a big gang with people from New York, from Australia, Canada, all around Europe came here. And they're coming again this year. It'll be the second year of it, and it's the same again. There's big demand. Like another example of that is we started a Country and Western Festival a few years ago, and it really took off. There was people coming from the mainland, with ferries full coming in. We mixed it with country and western with set dancing. And I really got a good mix of people coming into the island, which is great to see.
I mean, originally a lot of the employment on the island would have been fishing and farming. Times have changed, hence why I suppose you're trying out these ideas to make things work.
Yeah, see, all the time in an island, you have, say for years ago, you had a mixture of fishing and farming, and you kind of work with the seasons. So because of the decline in the fishing and the farming, people started going into tourism. So now you have a mix of that again, and over the last number of years, different industries have started.
There once was a time where you wouldn't actually have to know any of the other islanders, whereas now, I suppose times have moved forward and it's about working together. That the islands are very much working more together.
Yeah, what we're doing, just taking in West Cork, there's only 600 islanders, we are a minority group, there's only 3,000 in the country. So down in West Cork, what we did the last number of years, we decided we had to come together. The population is going down, even from, I think we looked at statistics, in 1956 to 2006, Bere Island dropped from 493 to 187, which is a dramatic loss. And even talking to people, it was maybe the decline of the creameries and the creameries closing was a lot of it, and technology happening, that there was big change in population, people moved to cities. But we found out, if we don't make sure islands are noticed by both the Irish government and the EU and even local government, we're going to be lost. So we set up a structure, a West Cork Islands Community Council, where there's 2 people from each island, from the 7 islands, on a council, and we work with Cork County Council and all the different agencies like the HSE or TAGIS. We have an interagency group that meets 4 times a year, and we're following a 10 to 15 year plan, trying to sustain the islands. And tourism was a big part of this. And even today now, the West Cork Islands Festival is part of that. And what we want to do is showcase the islands, that they're a great place not only to visit, but also to live. That people, you can come here, you can raise a family. The education is great here. The school is brilliant, 2-teacher school. I have 3 kids in the school myself, and the education I get is second to none. And then here again, for secondary school, this island is unique, that you can actually get a boat in the morning at 8:30. You can be out in school for 9 and you'll get a boat back in the evening at 4:15. You're home again, say, for 4:30, 4:45.
Just like a bus without wheels.
Just like a bus without wheels, that's what it is. Some people would be saying, how do you manage this? But I'd go to different cities, and you'd say, how do people manage going into subways or metros, crammed with thousands of people? So I can go across the harbour in a boat myself.
So what a great time we've had here in Bere Island on our second visit to the islands of this summer. I want to thank everybody for the hospitality that they've given us. We've certainly been treated like royalty. We're about to hop on the ferry now and visit our next island, which is Whiddy Island. But before we do that, if you have an event that you'd like us to cover, then you can email us, cork@irishtv.ie. If you're a fan of social media, then you can catch us on Facebook and Twitter. We're heading off. We'll catch you after the break in our next island.